Welcome. This is episode 184. How do I trust myself again on the Milestones podcast? I'm Amy Watson. I'm a life and grief coach. I'm the mom of two angel babies, and I love helping other parents who know this pain to continue to live their life because you got to continue living. That's what we're all doing, and we want to do it in the best way possible. So today, I want to start by shouting out my little girl, Lauren. It's her birthday today, and she would be 12 years old. And I wanted to talk just for a second about what that feels like, because I think maybe a lot of you listening are not as far along. It hasn't been 12 years for you. And you might wonder, what is it even like? So, first, I got to say that this episode is being brought to you by Ruby Red Squirt. If you're watching on YouTube, I see it. I don't know if you like the what's it called? New Heights podcast, the Kelsey's or Kylie Kelsey's podcast, but I love how they always just like have their product placement right there. I'm not sponsored by Squirt. That would be awesome. But I drank so much Ruby Red Squirt when I was pregnant with Lauren. I don't even know why. I don't know. It was one of my cravings, and I was just drinking and drinking it. And I grew up in my church. We try not to do coffee or tea, which kind of extends to like caffeine. So I try not to drink like Coke and whatever. And anyways, I chose not to. Not everyone else doesn't. Everyone can do what they want. But I didn't realize that Ruby Red Squirt had caffeine in it until like I don't even know how long, probably into my pregnancy. And it doesn't, I don't think it has a ton. I'm not gonna look it up right now, but I remember being like, oh crap, like this is probably why I've been craving having a Ruby Red Squirt every day. So I would eat an egg sandwich, so like piece of bread, cheese, ham, which I warmed up, made sure it was safe, like cooked it hot, and then yeah, an egg on top. And I would eat that every day, and I would probably have a Ruby Red Squirt nearly every day. I don't know. I don't even drink a ton of soda, but that's what it is. So I've got that here is some ice. And so cheers to Lauren and Ruby Red Squirt. Um, yeah, what has year 12 been like? It's been a wild year personally for so many reasons, but I did notice in January, we again in our church, we have, so when we meet, the first hour is like a sacrament meeting where we have bread and water, and there's speakers, and we're kind of all together. So there's kids, adults, everybody's together. And then the second hour, we go into classes. So there are the kids go to what we call primary, but it's just like Sunday school. They go sing, learn songs, learn about the scriptures, all of that. And then there's a youth program where if you're 12 to 18, you go in a group with that. And then, of course, the adults have their classes. And in January, everyone who's turning 12 that year moves into the new class. And they also get to go to the temple. And so a lot of people were posting about this. A lot of my friends, a lot of people around, we kind of saw like in church that like recognize the new kids coming in and to this like youth program. And I remember just thinking, oh, she would be turning 12. Like she would be in the young women's program. She would be doing all these cute things. She would get to go to the temple. And I looked around and I saw, it's just a reminder. I think as time goes on, that's something I've observed is that the milestones are farther apart. The closer you are to your baby's death, the more milestones. It's like, oh, it's been a week. It's been 2 weeks. It's been a month, 2 months. Just like when you have a newborn, you're going to be counting those little intervals, those little milestones, like, oh, they got a tooth, or oh, they're crawling, or they're doing whatever. There's a lot of little milestones, but as time goes on, there's fewer. So I remember one of my biggest ones was the year she would have gone into kindergarten. It was also about January when we started getting flyers for kindergarten registration. I was like, oh, yeah, she would be going into kindergarten. That was a big one that kind of hit me harder. And then this year in January, yeah, I definitely felt some feelings. I had some moments, but a beautiful little tender mercy or a miracle that happened was I help plan the women's activities at church that we do. And we do like a monthly get together. And we had planned to do a service project. And since I love doing angel baby service projects, I volunteered and they decided to do it in January. And that was probably like way, way back in the fall, like August or September. They decided that I would do this project in January. And I needed that. And I remember that night I was planning to share my story. I'm very open. I've spoken at many activities and events. And I remember thinking, I'll share my story and I'll share why this service project, which is called Teeny Tears, why it means so much to me and how much I love it. And that night I just was emotional and I just was like, I'm not feeling it. So thankfully, I just turned the time over to my friend Megan, who's in charge of Teeny Tears, and she was there to help with the project. And she shared about her son who had died and shared the project and how much it helps. And so I just spent that night really like quietly cutting out flannel, making these little tiny blankets and, interacting, being friendly and whatever, but really just taking that time and feeling the feelings. And like I was close to tears quite a bit and that was okay. I think that's what happens with, I guess, maturing in grief and working in your grief, like you are here, like being here. What happens is you're just not afraid of the grief. You recognize it, you acknowledge it, you love it, you you allow it. You don't fight it. And that's what I did. So I spent that night just quietly, almost crying and cutting out fabric. And that was really therapeutic. It always is. I love doing service. And I just kept on going. And now today, I I don't know exactly how I feel. I've been kind of tired. Daylight savings just happened. I feel like everything's off. And funnily enough, and I'll share this here, and I haven't even told, like, I haven't really said this, but the other night, so 2 nights ago, I stayed up really late because there was some like personal stuff and I just couldn't sleep. And sometimes when you can't sleep, it's best to just get up out of bed and go do something else. I made like some chamomile tea and um, just was chilling quietly downstairs. And I realized just today, as I was thinking, I was like, I stayed up till 3 in the morning. And Lauren was born at 3 in the morning. So we found out she had passed in the afternoon of the 13th of March. And they immediately started induction of labor. I was 39 and a half weeks. And she ended up being born in that like deep quiet of the night at 3 in the morning. And I didn't even realize that. I stayed up till 3 in the morning. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to go to bed. And especially because like there still was like life, there still was the, personal stuff. So I didn't recognize it immediately, but I really thought about it. And so, so funny how these little signs, these little things, like, yeah. And I remember, I think the year after, like her first birthday, I remember just waking up at three. I think it was 3:07. I'd have to look. Um, Honestly, I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure that it was 3:07 that she was born. So, yeah, January was more emotional. Today, I don't have much of a plan. I don't know. I think I'm just gonna find a yummy cake. That's gonna be my mission after I finish recording this is go find a little bakery or cupcake. Sometimes we've gone to like a fancy cupcake shop and I'll just let the kids pick out a cupcake. And sometimes we'll go to the cemetery and sing. We haven't always lived near where she's buried, but we are pretty close, but the weather is yucky. So I'm thinking we're just gonna make some soup and I'm gonna get some sort of treat and we will just think about her and I might pull out her box. She has little hand and footprints that I haven't like seen. And I was thinking, I don't know if the kids have like touched them or looked at them. I have one set in a shadow box and I have one set that yeah, they're like in a box, in another box, in the Lauren's tote where we have some of her things. So check out Instagram. I might share some of that over there. I might show you guys, maybe. Uh, that's the thing. It's like, I don't feel like I have to share. I'm not sure. Most of the time when I feel like more, um, not vulnerable, I don't want to say vulnerable, but when I'm just, yeah, I just know that for me, sometimes sharing is really helpful. Sometimes sharing is really easy. Most of the time, sharing is really easy. And sometimes it's like, no, I just want to keep it for myself. So 12 years on, I love my daughter. I think about her every day. I do my work and so many things in her honor, and I am okay. I am okay. I have my struggles. I have my wins. I have grown a ton. I can't believe it's been 12 years. And it's just awesome. Like life is good. Life is good even when it's hard. And so I want to give you hope. That's my message always is let's just keep on keeping on and trust that you're going to be okay and you are okay now. You don't have to wait till your baby's 12 to be able to say, I'm okay. Whenever you're ready, you get to be okay. You get to be good, even if you still break down sometimes, even if every Tuesday is hard for you, even if, you have tons of reminders everywhere, even if you feel like you're not doing this grief thing right or life, you are. So that is my message. That's my update on Lauren's 12th birthday. That is crazy to say. Um, she was awesome. You guys, she had the cutest, darkest, so much hair, the chubbiest cheeks. Um, her little ears were smushed. Sometimes, just given that they've died, their ears stay a little smushed and but they were so cute and she had the best little fingernails and she was just like a perfect, perfect baby. And you can go, I was going to look it up. I didn't. I have Lauren's birth story. Maybe just Google Lauren's birth story, Smooth Stones podcast. Uh, but I talked all about when she was born. So I have shared that and I've shared it on lots of other like podcasts. So if you want to hear about her, go to that. But shout out to Lauren. Happy birthday. Let's talk about our topic today. How do I trust myself again? I I really wanted to talk about this because I think it's one of the keys to our healing. Because, like I said, a lot of times we are judging our process and our progress and our experience like that we're doing something wrong. And we don't even know what to trust. So, let me jump into this. I've got 3 really actionable tips that you are going to love and be able to use right away. So, here it is. Let's talk about what is trust. So what do you think it is if we trust ourselves, if we have self-trust? Like you think you're always going to make the right choices, you think you're going to be perfect, you think you can handle anything. What is it? But a lot of times it's this illusion. It's a delusion. We don't like saying delusion because it has kind of a negative connotation, but really it just means we're imagining something that isn't true. Which isn't a bad thing. That as we look into our future and we think about ourselves, our brain likes certainty. It likes creating a picture of what's coming next because this really soothes and quiets our mind and it helps us feel grounded. But we actually can't know. Like we can't know what's going to happen. We can't really know what we're going to do, how we're going to react. But we just have to kind of believe, right? So we have these beliefs. A lot of them are unconscious. Trust is a choice that we make. Like I said, a lot of times it's unconscious. We just take what we have and we project it forward. And so when we have self trust, when it's easy, when we're just going through life, like imagine, I always kind of imagine like college students, they're just at this peak where like they think they know everything and they're, young and beautiful and generally like healthy and they're able to do all kinds of things and they're learning and they have this idea of what their future is going to be like. I think although a lot of people have anxieties, a lot of people have doubts and you know, are working on becoming more confident. I feel like it's that energy, right? Of just like this young person that feels like they're going to grab the world by the tail and they've got this. Um, but then why do we lose trust? Why do we lose trust in ourselves? Why do we kind of lose trust in our life and what's happening? Because once life reveals the reality that we thought isn't actually guaranteed, right? It's almost like you just get body slammed into reality. And now we have to wrestle with what used to be so easy. For example, a lot of people of faith, you have this faith and you're like, of course, I'm like 100%. I'm totally all good. I'm very confident in my testimony. And then your baby dies. And then your partner cheats on you. And then like something awful happens. Somebody does something, somebody says something, and it shakes your faith. And you have to wrestle with it. And you have to figure out, oh, I really thought like this one way. And now what the heck? I I really have to figure this out. So I want, as always, I don't want me to just talk to you. You got to participate a little bit, but I promise it's easy. I want you to ask yourself, what broke your trust? Where in your life do you not trust yourself? What happened? Like, why do you not trust yourself? What brought this new reality into your mind? It could be something that happened. It could be something that someone said. It could be something you learned. What is it? So just take a pause if you need to pause the podcast and just think, maybe where are some spots where I need to work on my self trust? And for some of you, you might be like, no, I think I'm awesome. I'm good. Like my relationship with myself is great. I still want you to keep listening because you might, something might ring true to you. Um, but for a lot of us, it's pretty easy to identify where we're not trusting ourselves, where we're not believing in ourselves. It could be with your goals, it could be with your grief, it could be with relationships, whatever it is. So when we get new information, when things happen, when things change, we have to adjust. But it's not easy. Adjusting is super uncomfortable and we do not like it. It feels like everything we believed is now broken, right? The things we believed about ourselves, the things we believed about our relation to the world, we're lost and confused and like there's no ground beneath us. Have you ever felt like that? I know I did when I thought I was going to be a mom of 5, and all of a sudden I was back to being a mom of 4. Even though the 5th one existed, she wasn't there. And so that was a real thing I had to work through was this identity, right? I was going to be a mom of 5 daughters. Like, how cool is that? And all of a sudden I wasn't. My family looked the same, but my family was forever changed. And it didn't make any sense. Like people couldn't see it. I'd walk around the world and be like, they think I have 4 daughters. Trust me, when you have 4 daughters, you go anywhere with them, people say things. And I wanted to be like, I have 5 daughters. Um, so yeah, no ground beneath me. It was just so confusing. So what I usually see is people want to go backwards and kind of find that same safe imagined reality, which is exactly what I was just saying, which was I want people to know that I have 5 daughters, right? Like they have to know. I have to tell them, or like I wish I could go back and change some like the choices I made and like when I went to the doctor and if I would have noticed sooner and all these things, right? So we want to go back to the world where I just got to believe I'm going to be a mom of five daughters. We want to remove this new information. Like we want to remove the fact that babies die, or we want to remove the fact that our life could change in an instant. And like I said, we want to just go back, go back. But that isn't an option. Like it is not. I try to be really chill here, but sometimes I got to be blunt. That is not going to happen. So stop using all your energy to fight for it because you're just not going to make it. You're never going to get there. Right. And I think you can like frame it in a different way if you want to and just say, I used to be my own best cheerleader. And I used to like totally trust myself and I want that again. So maybe you want who you were, like some of those values and attributes and things you had cultivated, like you want to get it something similar, right? It's not going to be exactly the same, but it's okay to have those goals. But the difference is you're not fighting reality. You're actually using your past self as um, an example of what's possible for you. So instead of fighting, trying to crawl backwards, what I want you to do is start right where you are. Okay. Life threw you a curveball, a really big one. It gave you a black eye and it knocked you on your butt and you had no idea what to do. And there were a whole bunch of people watching, right? Your pants are dirty. You're just like, now what do I do? Uh, it's definitely possible it will throw you more. So, what do you want to do about that? Do you want to hide? Do you want to quit? That is an option. It doesn't sound very fun to me, though. I don't think it's what we're here to do. Maybe for a little bit, we can do that. Pull those covers over your head, snuggle back in bed, try to stay where it's warm and safe and quiet and dark. But then you have to start with what you have. So here are my tips. First, celebrate you. You're still breathing? Amazing. You're listening to a podcast to help you figure this out? What? You are a rock star. If you're still being you in even the tiniest of ways, I love it. Actually, I wonder, and I was thinking as I was writing this, I wonder if we all just looked at ourselves and looked at how we grieve as kind of a mirror to who we are and how incredible we are and how unique we all are. So some people want to fight and they want to make change. And oh my goodness, I know some ladies like this who just have that fire. Some people want to comfort others. Some people want to focus on making their world the most beautiful for their family. Some people want to try again, right? They are locked in on their identity as a parent. Some cope with dark humor, right? We're so quick to judge how we grieve, but it is a window into truly who we are. So I want you to listen. I want you to learn. I want you to observe instead of judging yourself. That's the coolest thing about being a human. We can watch ourselves. We can think about our thinking. So use that power. Use it for good. Love all the parts of you. Second, self-trust is built in moments like this. I want you to know this. When it's easy, well, it's easy. You're not put to the test at all. So think about a muscle. When you don't use it, it withers away. But when you start lifting weights, when you start lifting more weights, you get stronger. And I know that there are people out there who get upset when we're told that hard stuff makes us stronger. But it does. It does if we choose to let it. I'm not saying your baby died so you can have more self-trust, but I'm saying that this can be a great opportunity to really dig deep and to learn how to trust yourself in a way that you never could have before, just because we didn't have this opportunity. Just like so many people that don't know what to say to grievers because they don't understand. You do. You know what it's like to have your world be shattered. So, again, now what? The most important part of this is choice. You can choose to let the hard stuff be an opportunity. Instead of fighting reality, criticizing yourself, and generally thinking that you are lost, you can literally say, this is the part where. Let this be part of the process. It helps it not feel so overwhelming. It helps you be compassionate with yourself. It helps you be open up to the fact that it won't always feel like this. You won't always doubt yourself like this. You will rebuild that self-trust and it will be awesomer than ever. This is just so, so important. Honestly, this is where the magic happens. Let it happen. Let this be the part where you feel lost, but it's a bigger journey. It's a journey of a lifetime. And none of us know how long we have. So don't get bogged down. Don't start beating yourself up. Let it just be part of your story. And third, love yourself right where you are. I feel like this is basically a tip for every single thing. It's the most important step in all of this work that we're doing. You don't have to hate yourself to improve. That's what so many of us have been taught, that we have to fix ourselves. But you are not broken. You never were. You aren't now. Your relationship with you is literally just the thoughts you think about yourself. When you tell yourself unkind things, it's hard to trust yourself. When you judge your behavior and why you're doing it, it's hard to trust yourself. And that being said, I've got a tiny little tangent. I notice a lot of clients and people who will use the self-improvement things they know or things from therapy or theories they've heard, or like social media is big. I don't know about your algorithm, but mine is very much, like relationship advice and attachment theory. And there's just like, there's somebody that's I follow who talks about kind of being this oldest perfectionist daughter, which is kind of where I am, like the good kid, the A student who like now is hitting her 40s and and it's just like it's too much, just trying to figure out who you are. Right. So we have this stuff coming at us from all angles. If you're like me, I love reading self-help books, but and podcasts, of course, favorite. But what happens is we use these things to continue to blame yourself for not being better, right? Air quotes, better, whatever that means, right? Someone will come to me and they'll be like, I got invited to a baby shower and I've been crying all day and I've tried doing breathing techniques and I know that I get to choose my emotions and create them and so I just don't know why I can't stop crying. Never use coaching or any tools I teach you against yourself. Never try to push any emotions or even nervous system reactions away. I think this is another big one. As people are becoming more aware of our nervous system and like fight, flight, freeze and being activated, there's almost this whole thing around not being activated, right? Like we have to always keep our nervous system regulated. It's not meant to be regulated. It's meant to go up and down, just like our hormones are meant to go up and down, or like our weight is supposed to go up and down, and our moods are supposed to go up and down. Like we're not meant to be flatline in anything, right? Flatlines are not good. We know in a heartbeat. Um, we've all experienced that. But like we still believe this and we're actively told this, right? Some people are selling this. They're selling it that you should be 100% happy and peaceful all the time and like they have the secret. But the truth is We are supposed to let ourselves be human. We're supposed to feel all our emotions. We're supposed to make tons of mistakes, and we're going to love and trust ourselves anyway. So I wrote that with a big exclamation point. Love and trust yourself anyway, in the humanness. Yes, use all these tools to support yourself, but love yourself right where you are. So, in a nutshell, we're going to wrap it up. If you want to start on the path of trusting yourself again, if you want to take that first step, again, you don't have to like 100% trust yourself now. You maybe never will. But let's just take a first step. Let's just try to be 1% better, 1% more self trust, which to me just means letting go of the judgment and the doubt and the mean things we say to ourselves. Because if you can drop some of that stuff, the self trust just comes in. I think naturally, like if you look at a little like 4-year-old, they are just loving themselves. They're having a good time. And we learn not to love ourselves. So let's peel it back. We learn not to trust ourselves because we're told time and time again not to trust ourselves. I could go on and on about that. Maybe that's another episode, like all the messages we get to not trust ourselves. But you think about it. You think about how it happens in society, in families, in the doctor's office, like um, in grief, even in grief. I had people come and tell me how I should feel and why. Aren't they just awesome? Thank you for that. But yeah, think about what you want, what your relationship with yourself is going to look like, how much you're going to trust yourself, and what that will feel like. So, first, we want to celebrate ourselves always. Just keep winning. Like you are always doing amazing. Second, remember self trust is built in moments like this. So, don't tell yourself otherwise, right? Don't kick yourself while you're down. I think that's what we do, right? We're like struggling to survive some days. And then we're like, oh my gosh, you're such a piece of crap. No, you're not. You're not. Third, love yourself right where you are. So, again, happy birthday to my girl Lauren and big hugs to all of you. Thank you for being here if you're listening on the podcast. And if you don't know, I'm on YouTube now. I've got all my episodes on YouTube, but I've recently started adding video. So, if you like to watch me talk and see my ruby red squirt, um, come on over, subscribe. If you love this episode, will you leave a review? Uh, it means a lot. It only takes a minute, and I read everyone. And I just want this podcast to go out and help everyone who needs it. So, lots of love to you, and I will see you next time.